Everybody, welcome to our webinar here. Welcome to our Abundance Digital members. Welcome to those watching on social media. Today is going to be an incredibly important day because it's a day that you're going to get tools and data to help you understand what's going on inside our bodies. At the end of the day, we walk around thinking we're fine, that everything is good, maybe you have some aches and pains, but do we actually know what is going on inside our bodies and what we should be doing to maximize our health? What supplements we should be taking, what food we should be taking. And for most everybody, this is sort of like a guess. You read about something, you hear about something, your friend tells you about something, and you sort of like try it. And maybe you do, maybe you don't feel better. But at the end of the day, the science is finally to a point where we can begin to optimize our health, begin to understand what foods make us ill, what foods give us energy, what foods reduce or increase inflammation, and ultimately what supplements we need to maximize our health, our vitality, and our longevity. So there is a company, I'm very proud, full disclosure, the CEO is one of my best friends in the world, and my venture fund, Bold Capital, is an investor. But I think the world of this company. It's called Viome. And let me take a moment, first of all, and welcome and then properly introduce Naveen Jain, the CEO, and Momo Vuyisich, our CSO of Viome. Naveen and Momo, welcome.
Thank you, Peter. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you.
Well, thank you, pal. And let me take a second and properly introduce you because you're both extraordinary individuals. So those of you who don't know Naveen Jain, Naveen is the CEO of Viome. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's had a number of multi-billion-dollar exits. Besides Viome, TalentWise, Intellius, InfoSpace, and in the space business, Moon Express, you can see over Naveen's shoulders here, lots of Apollo artifacts and asteroid artifacts. And I have to say, I think while he was inspired by space, I got him re-excited about space. Viome is a disruptive healthcare company. It's really about predicting and preventing chronic disease, understanding your microbiome, and understanding how to personalize your nutrition. Naveen is on the board with me of Singularity University, very proud of his early roles, and also on the board of trustees of the X Prize, the winner of a multitude of awards, and we'll get to that later. So Momo Vuyisich, and I'm going to ask you how to properly pronounce your last name, Momo, so I don't, Vuyisich is the proper pronunciation. Momo is co-founder and chief science officer of Viome. He led the team at the Alamos National Labs that created this technology, and just where the technology came from and how Naveen uncovered it is itself an amazing entrepreneurial story. So besides that, Momo's an adjunct professor at University of New Mexico and New Mexico Tech. So welcome to both of you. Naveen, first to you, pal. How do you describe Viome? Because it's not just your microbiome, it's also your blood transcriptomics, but there's a big vision here. You have a vision of it being an incredible healthcare tech company. Talk to us.
Yeah, so Peter, I mean, I think as anyone who has listened to you for decades, you have been saying this is the first time in the human history we are able to digitize and decode the human biology. And once we are able to do that, we are able to now understand what causes us to have these chronic diseases. And Peter, you saying something?
I'm here, pal. I'm here.
So what is causing us to have these chronic diseases, and what's really fascinating to me, not being scientist or coming from a medical degree, was that if you're not born with these diseases, and somehow we have been told that our genes are our destiny, and I realized that if our genes don't change when you gain 200 pounds, so you're born with a DNA and then you gain 200 pounds, your DNA hasn't changed. You get diabetes, your DNA doesn't change. Autoimmune diseases, depression, anxiety, and you can go on and on and on. Your DNA never changes. Then how can you possibly say the solution to something of chronic diseases will lie in that genes? So, well, if genes don't change, what does change? Well, our answer is your gene expression is constantly changing. And again, not being coming from the industry, my first thought was, why can't someone look at the gene expression and find out exactly what is going on, what is causing the diseases, and make sure those genes are not expressed? In my mind, the genes are like thoughts, right? In your mind, you can have good thoughts, you can have bad thoughts. As long as you don't express any bad thoughts, no crime happens. You can have all the bad thoughts in the world in your mind, just don't express them. And the same way, you can have good genes, you can have bad genes, just don't express the bad ones, right? And that to me was the key to understanding that what if we can understand that we can prevent and reverse the chronic diseases. So to me, the Viome is all about with a simple mission. Can we imagine a world where having a chronic disease truly a matter of choice, not a matter of bad luck? So we hope one day, every one of us, our children, our grandchildren, our family members, our humanity will look back and say, we finally understood why we are sick and we can prevent it. And it's a choice that we make every single day by the food we eat, by the lifestyle we have, and the life we live.
Yeah, so I just want to echo this because I think it's really important for everybody to understand your DNA is the potential for your life. It's not actually what's going on. And it's all about, and Momo is going to hammer this in as the chief scientist here, it's all about your RNA. It's all about not what genes do you have, which of your genes are expressed, and the level of their expression, and when they turn on and when they turn off. This is called your transcriptome. So Momo, go back. You're a scientist at Livermore,
Los Alamos.
I'm sorry, at Los Alamos, which is also famous for having developed the nuclear bombs in during World War II. So you're at Los Alamos National Labs. What were you working on transcriptomes and microbiomes for? What was the origin of this company's technology?
Yeah, so the origin is very interesting in that my background was all in RNA biochemistry. So both in graduate school and my several postdocs and early scientific career, I was working with RNA. So I was very, very acutely aware of gene expression versus genome, and I knew how to study RNA, and I knew how to be friends with RNA. For those people who have never worked in a laboratory, no one likes RNA, and the reason is because it's very fragile. It just tends to disappear, and so most scientists consider it a no-no. But we're good friends. And so that's one story. The second story is that I was unfortunately diagnosed with an autoinflammatory disease or autoimmune disease at a young age of 25 and suffered from it for about 15 years. And I realized during those 15 years that we currently have 60% of the population suffers from a chronic disease, more than 50 chronic diseases, major chronic diseases, and there is no known cause of any of them, and there is no cure and no actual preventative therapy for any of those diseases. And so I had this autoimmune disease, I was headed for a wheelchair, and the best that the modern medicine could do is to tell me that they can slow it down. So luckily I was able to figure out what was causing this disease in me, change my diet, and my symptoms went away, my joints healed, and I'm now symptom-free for 5.5 years. And so this journey also led me to understand the system that's set up in the United States. And so the system is, I'm actually just looking at this right now. So everyone in the audience has heard of inflammation, right? And if you look at the biotechnology reference database of all scientific journals, there have been 931,000 scientific papers published on inflammation, 931,000. If you go to a doctor today and say, I have inflammation, how do we measure it? They don't know. There's a CRP test, but many doctors don't like it because it's sort of a very generic. And more importantly, how do we actually prevent that inflammation? No one knows, right? So it's this sort of mythical, magical thing that everyone has, or many people have, but no one really knows what it is and what causes it. And so these kind of stories really changed my scientific focus. And for 5 years prior to starting Viome, I completely shifted my scientific career and was very passionate and focused, and got a lot of grant money to to develop these foundational technologies that we're using at Viome, and to study the gut microbiome the way it was never studied before.
So let me take a second here to explain to everybody why you want to sit here and listen to this webinar, what you're going to walk away with at the end of it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler, but I think it's one of the most important conversations you can really tune into and spend the next 20 minutes in conversation, and then your questions come next. At the end of the day, the food that we put into our bodies is medicine. You've heard of the idea of food as medicine, and the food that we put into our bodies is processed both by your body, but also, hundreds of billions, if not trillions, of microbiota in your system. And some of the food you eat is going to be good for you, is going to be the superfoods that you need, and some of the foods that you eat are going to be bad for you. They're going to feed bad bacteria. It's going to cause inflammatory reactions that go through your gut lining into your bloodstream and give you pain, may give you depression, may give you anxiety, may give you all kinds of things. And so what we're learning, because of the mix of really molecular biology, genetics, RNA, if you would, all of the omics and machine learning, is what are the foods you should eat, what are the foods you shouldn't eat. And Viome is the company that has really put this all together. As I mentioned, my venture fund's an investor. The valuation has skyrocketed to north of $400 million because of the value that they're creating and in the world. But I now am clear about what I need. And there is the thing that Viome has done beautifully, and I want to just circle around because it's just available this week, is the ability to take a series of tests measuring your gut flora, and from a few milliliters of blood, your transcriptome, not what genes you have, but what genes are being expressed, to understand what supplements I should take, what foods I should eat. And they've closed the cycle where I can in fact do the test, get the information, but then order supplements that I take to sort of bring me back up to norm. And I'm not saying this, I'm disclosing that fact I'm an investor, but as a consumer, I think this is, for the first time ever, I'm not guessing, that I actually have science behind what I'm doing. So Naveen, back to you. Let's talk about what Viome does here.
Yeah, so I think, Peter, I think you summarized it really well. And I imagine, we have been going through this trial and error, treating our body like a black box. Every time we hear something that, I'm trying to lose weight, and friend of mine tells me, I went on a keto diet, I lost 20 pounds, I am on a keto diet. It's making me miserable as hell. And then I hear my friend went on a paleo diet, and I'm going to go on a paleo diet. I'm going to go on a low carb diet. I'm going on a high protein diet. And we are trying to figure out what is right. And it turns out there is no such thing as universal healthy food. It's not that spinach is good for everyone. It's not that, the broccoli is good for everyone. And that's the reason people get so confused. One day the coconut oil is good. One day the coconut oil is bad. One day the caffeine is good. One day the caffeine is bad. Well, it turns out it is not the caffeine is good or bad. It's not the broccoli is good or bad. It is for each one of us, the broccoli can be good or broccoli can be bad. The spinach can be good, the spinach can be bad. And what we learned is it really depends on those 39 trillion microbes in our gut. So what we decided that, what if we can analyze not just what microbes are there in your gut, but what they are actually doing. And when you eat a certain food, what those foods are going to be transformed into, because food is, to some extent, is a bioactive compound, and your gut microbiota is going to transform that into something else. So for example, when you eat spinach, it has a lot of oxalic acid or oxalate. if you're not able to digest oxalate, it's going to end up as a kidney stone. Same type of thing. If your gut microbiome is producing a lot of sulfide, then if you happen to eat broccoli or cabbage or Brussels sprout that have high amount of sulfate, is going to get converted into a sulfide, which is going to cause inflammation. And many of the people who want to be fit eat the protein shake and eat a lot of protein. And what ends up happening is, if our body cannot digest that protein, it ends up in our colon where the bacteria ferments it. And when they ferment it, they release ammonia, which is going to cause massive amount of inflammation. So while you think you're doing good for yourself, you're actually harming. And the thing was, by looking at the gut was one thing, and then we realized that what if we can look on the other side of the wall. So I think of a human body like a donut, right? There is a tube that goes through us, and there is a top of the tube is our mouth, where there is an oral microbiome. And it turns out, Peter, what we learned was there are more types of microbes in our mouth than in our gut, even though the quantity of the microbes in our mouth are less than 1% of in our gut. So there are 39 trillion in our gut. They're substantially less in our mouth, but there are more variety. So when my mom will say, son, chew your food, what she was saying was, let your oral microbiome do its job to transform that food into something that a body can digest, right? And then when she would say, listen to your gut, what she was saying is, listen to your microbes, what they are telling you. They're telling you not to eat this food. They're telling you that it's not good for you. And what we are learning really is some very interesting facts, is that now we are able to look at all of that stuff, your human gene expression, your mitochondrial gene expression. And when you do this test called health intelligence, what you get is the high level things like your biological age. How old are you? I mean, not what your chronological age is, how you have treated your body. And so Peter has always been my younger brother, and it turns out in biologically, I don't know, not quite sure yet. I think I am just turning 61 next week. Biologically, I am 49, so I'm 12 years younger.
No, dude. I am just to be very clear here on my biological age. I am. Can you see that there? I'm 48. So okay. I'm still
you
younger.
Are. So now let the facts speak for themselves. He is 48. I am 49. I am 61. He's 59. So I am biologically younger. I have treated my body better.
Always competitive here. But it's interesting, right? Because I think what I find valuable here for the first time is I've got a clear list of what I should avoid. So, it's like I'll read the list here that I have: bell peppers, eggplants, okra, potatoes.
And by the way, if you click on bell pepper, it tells you why. So it's not a voodoo, we say avoid bell pepper. It tells you why you should avoid bell pepper based on what's happening inside your body, right?
Yep. And so I won't go into it right here, but then it also has, besides what to avoid, it also has my superfoods. Right. So it
tells you here are the foods that are best for you and why. And the thing that we just launched, Peter, yesterday was really the mind-blowing thing, that for every single thing that's happening in your body, we say your mitochondrial score is too low, or your cellular health is too low, or your immune system health is low. Here are the nutrients your body is lacking. Here are the foods you can eat. And by the way, you can't eat 5 kilograms of blueberries, but you do need this particular nutrient in your body. And what happens is sometimes the food itself may not be actually good for you. So for example, strawberry. Strawberry actually has something called fisetin, and fisetin is really good antioxidant. But unfortunately, strawberry also has histamine producing things. That means if I cannot eat strawberry because it's going to cause me allergic reaction because I have high histamine pathways, right? Now, I can still give you the fisetin that's good for you in your supplement. And here is the part that I think, Peter, that never would have been possible until now. This is for the first time we are able to look inside your body and make those supplements custom ordered on demand for each individual. So it is not like you take a pill from a blue drawer, take a pill from the red drawer. We literally look at the stuff and saying you need 22 milligram of fisetin. You need 11 milligram of elderberry. You need 7 milligram of curcumin. And we literally make that capsule for you on demand that day. So everything is done based on your scores, made that day just for you. And that capsule is going to be shipped to you the same day. So the idea is we make everything that you need, and then we close the loop. So we measure it, we nourish your body, and then we show it to you that when you do a retest, it's included in your supplement, that next time you do, you can see your health markers changing. So now you can see your inflammation marker changing, your immune system changing, your cellular health changing, your biological age getting younger. And this is the first time you're no longer buying supplements, what I call on faith. It's not, I joined the church of NAD and I don't care what happens, I am going to take because it's going to make me younger. And what we realized, Peter, was very interesting was that people who take NAD, and if they have a high cellular senescence, that's one of our score in our health intelligence. If you have high cellular senescence and you take NAD, you're more likely to actually cause cytokine storm and inflammation than not. So just taking NAD or Elysium-like things are going to be actually hurting you, not helping you. So you really have to know when to take it, how much to take, and when to stop. Because the key is the not personalization, the precision. And that's why they call precision supplements, just everything what you need and nothing that you don't.
Look at you, buddy. You've become a physician. This is great.
I'm everything, Peter. Someday, when I'm not in this webinar, I can tell you that there is nothing that I have, you have been most influential, not only in my life, but also for our family, our children. I mean, we are all just so grateful to you for all that you offered us.
My pleasure, pal. Thank you. So please, everybody, get your questions ready. Let's talk about a little bit about the transcriptome and the importance of that again, because most of the early gut health microbiome tests were DNA tests. They were sequencing the bacteria in your stool. But that isn't the case here. We're not looking at that. We're looking really at the RNA side of the equation. And why is that important? And then which of this health intelligent data is coming from my microbiome transcriptome and which is coming from my blood transcriptome? What are we getting from the blood in these data sets? Momo, talk to me.
Yeah, I'll answer the first question. So the reason the transcriptome is so critical and the reason why Viome's technology is so far superior than others is that other tests are all, in fact, DNA-based. Viome's is the only gut microbiome test that's RNA-based. Sometimes some gut microbiome companies will say we sequence 16S rRNA, but in fact, they don't sequence rRNA at all. They are calling it that, but they're sequencing the gene that codes for 16S. So readers should be careful about that. But here are a couple of examples. I like to go with examples. So let's say, and this is an actual example, our cells in the colon require butyrate. It's a very important chemical that's produced by the gut microbiome. And so they require butyrate for healthy living, right? And so there's this microorganism that people love to pronounce. It's Faecalibacterium prausnitzii, right? And so this microorganism is capable of producing butyrate. And so some people say, well, it's a healthy it's a good bug, right? But the problem with that is that it has the potential to produce butyrate, but if you don't feed it just the right food, it will not be producing butyrate. So again, going back to the story we've been talking about is DNA is just a potential. It's not really the real thing that happens. So you not only have to identify that you have that microorganism, and there are many other microorganisms that are capable of producing butyrate, you have to feed each one of them exactly what they need in order to produce this butyrate, right? So that's one example. The other example that I like is the one that Naveen mentioned already, which is protein fermentation. So we are, in America, we're totally infatuated right now with protein consumption. Everyone just wants to eat as much protein as they can possibly eat. But here's the problem. If your body cannot digest all the protein, some of it ends up in the colon and it gets fermented into very pro-inflammatory, meaning these are chemicals that cause inflammation. And so everyone's gut microbiome has the potential to cause inflammation. but only those people that are consuming too much protein for their body are those chemicals actually produced. And if you don't measure that, if you only measure the potential by saying, oh, you have 8 bad microbes because they can cause you inflammation, but they may not be causing you inflammation at all, and our test is the only one who can actually measure whether these microbes are actually causing inflammation or not, and they have other beneficial functions that are fine. Does that make sense, Peter?
It does. It does.
So Momo, I want to just add just a little bit to it, then answer the second part of the question that Peter had. So one thing is that, you know, you have to look at the stuff and saying it doesn't really matter who is there. What matters is what they are doing. And what they are doing is really what the body cares about, right? So for example, you can have, if people have this idea of a good bacteria or a bad bacteria. So Akkermansia muciniphila is a good, people think of a good bacteria because it can produce a good stuff. But that same organism in other people's gut actually can be absolutely pathogenic, and it can cause cancer. So point is, it is not the bacteria, it is about what they end up doing. And what's really interesting is the behavior of these organisms change based on the environment they are in. They are just like human beings. I can be, you know, at work, I'm an entrepreneur, come home, I'm a dishwasher. What changed? Not me, it's the environment that changes. And the same thing when we are with Peter, we are really thinking inspiring stuff, and you go home to your, you know, bunch of other people and they're thinking, oh my God, the life is ending. So literally your environment changes everything. And I'm going to give you some really interesting stuff, Peter, that we have learned in very recently by analyzing over 250,000 people now. Now, I'm going to start with the most controversial stuff, then I'm going to give you the good stuff.
Okay.
Here is what we learned. The people who are on a keto diet, which is, you know, one of the most popular diet now, the people who are on a keto diet at an average are 4 to 5 years older than their chronological age. So they may look thinner, but they are completely effing up their body, if that's the right technical term, right? The same thing right underneath is a paleo diet, right? And that is a fundamentally that all these diets that are restrictive diet are not the good for your overall cellular health.
How about a vegan diet?
So vegan diet is, by the way, the best diet of all the diet that we have looked at. It is the absolutely the best diet of all. It tends to be about 4 years younger than your chronological age at an average, right? But what's interesting is, again, even within the vegan diet, you have to know, like bell pepper, it's bad for you. So it is, yes, it is vegan, but I don't, at least looking at your data, it's not good for you. So the thing that we look at the stuff to answer your question, Peter, in your blood transcriptomics, we're looking at literally every single pathway that your human transcript has. So we're looking at all the cytokines, all the inflammatory pathway. That means we look at your immune system, we look at your hormonal system, we're looking at the neurotransmitter, you're looking at your mitochondria, you're looking at the stress response, and then we're looking at the inflammation. Not just you have inflammation, we're looking at what is causing that inflammation. Is it histamine, which is allergies? Or is it really the infection? Or is it really the oxidative stress? And then based on that, we can give you the different things. So you can't just say, I have inflammation, so I'm going to take something anti-inflammatory. Unless you know what is root cause of that inflammation, you can't really precisely give what we need. And that is really what we're trying to do, is to understand at that level the root cause of what's going on, so we can build the right set of foods for you and the right set of supplements that you need, and no more guessing. It is all about precisely what you need, and that's where the science is. And this couldn't have been done half a decade ago. This is only possible today because the cost of sequencing has come down, cost of processing the data has come down, the AI has become so powerful. Now, other thing Peter is going to tell you, there is research that has come out now that shows that our microbes actually not only contribute to most chronic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, now they are linked to all the mental health. So your gut and brain are connected to the vagus nerve. Now they can actually show that your oral microbiome, which is oral hygiene, and the gut microbiome actually can cause depression, anxiety, Alzheimer, and Parkinson's. They can show the Parkinson's start in the gut 15 years before it actually you see the first symptom. Now they're able to see the cancer. The cancer tumors actually have the microbes inside the tumor, and now they're able to show the progression of the cancer, how the gut microbiome is actually involved. And many theses are now saying that actually the oral microbiome through the leaky gum ends up in the blood through the when the gums are inflamed, and it starts to cause a low-grade chronic inflammation, just like the leaky gut when the bacteria are releasing, constantly causing the low-grade chronic inflammation, causing diseases. And now we believe we are at a point that a decade from now, Peter, if you were to ask me, I would say we would potentially eliminate all chronic diseases. We will have a choice to be able to not be sick, whether it is the cancer or whether it's dementia. We will control our own thing. We will become the CEO of our own health. And it doesn't mean the problems are going to go away. We're going to still be wondering, why do we have to talk to communicate our ideas? Why can't we just transmit our brain directly to each other and communicate, right? So there'll always be more problems to solve, but chronic disease won't be one of them.
Well, I don't think any of us are gonna choose to have chronic disease, but hopefully you can take the actions to minimize it. Hey, Momo, how many scientists are employed at Viome? What's the total number of employees, and how many of those are scientists? Because it's pretty impressive.
Well, 150 people, Peter, and most of them are actually not in marketing. They're all in the science and engineering and AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, Peter, it's very important to mention that most of the employees at Viome are scientists, but not only just scientists, but let's talk about what kind of scientists. That's really important. So, traditionally, if you wanted to get food advice, you would go to a nutritionist. And the problem with that is that if you go to one nutritionist, they're going to recommend one diet. And if you go to a different one, they're going to recommend a different diet. And the reason is because there's no science behind it. There's simply nutritionists' experience and anecdotal evidence and small studies, right? Whereas at Viome, we've completely reduced these decades of nutritional science, so, quote unquote, into two things, and that is chemistry and math. And so let's talk about that a little bit. So we have a lot of chemists at Viome, and we have a lot of mathematicians. And so I want people to realize that today, when someone's recommendations arrive on their phone, that actually the chemists measured the chemical reactions that are performed by both human genes and microbial genes. So we measured those by collecting stool and blood samples and analyzed them in our clinical laboratory. And then the mathematicians applied mathematical equations that were learned from vast amounts of data so that the process is 100% objectivized. There is no one's opinion and there's no one's anecdotal evidence. It's not based on 3 papers. It's based on all the knowledge that's out there and all of our knowledge from vast amounts of data. So those are sort of really important concepts I'd like the audience to understand.
So we're about to go to your questions, so please get them ready. But before we do that, I think Mia's going to be asking them for everybody. Let's talk about a little bit about timing here. So the kit you get, it's a beautiful little box that you get in the mail or by UPS or FedEx, however it's sent. You open it up. It's a very simple, small amount of stool, a small amount of blood. You ship it back. And how long does it take to, once it's arrived there, to get processed? And how often do you recommend people repeat the testing? Give me some numbers there, and then we'll go to your question.
So Peter, so once we get the, you say touch of a stool and a few drops of the blood, from the time it arrives at our lab, less than 2 weeks, generally about 1 week to 2 weeks, you get all of your information in your app. So it's everything prepaid envelope, just very simple test. And then you get to see all the foods you should avoid and why. What are your superfoods and why? Every single nutrient your body needs, and you can press a button and actually get the custom-made supplements for you. And all of that magic happens actually in less than 2 weeks. And we have 250,000 people who have done the test, and the test is called Health Intelligence. And people can actually, who are listening, can go to Viome.com. That's, as Indians can pronounce the word V, that's V-I-O-M-E.
So how often do you recommend retesting yourself?
every 4 to 6 months is what we do, Peter, because as you change your diet, your ecosystem in the gut changes. You tune your car once a year, you got to tune your body at least 2 or 3 times a year. And what happens is every time you retest, actually things change. Your recommendations are going to be very different than they were before, because your body changes and adapts, and in terms of the functions that are being performed and the gene expression that are happening are changing. And if you don't adapt, it's like a seesaw. You balance it and it goes the other way around. So you have to constantly straddle and make sure you're adapting your diet and adapting the supplements to your body, a changing body.
And the cost of the health intelligence kit, which is what covers both the gut and the blood transcriptomics, is how much? And then the supplements, is it just one option for supplements, or are there different options?
Yeah, so basically it's a $349 on sale right now for health intelligence tests. It's normally $399, and the supplements are $149 right now with the introductory offer. If you buy them right now, they're going to go back up on month to month to $199. And the second package we're going to be offering very soon is going to be at $199 a month. You get your health intelligence test, you get supplement every month, and 6 months later we send you another health intelligence kit and keep adjusting your body. And as long as you're a member, you keep every 6 months, you're going to get your kit, we're going to readjust your supplements. Everything just happens automatically.
I think I think that's the potential I get excited about. It's less than a cup of coffee a day. I mean, honestly, it's a fraction of a cup of coffee a day. What you're talking about is, in the ideal world, I'm taking the supplements my body needs, and then I'm testing. And when I test, the data updates the supplements you send me the next cycle, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you can, by the way, if you want to do it before, you can do it every 3 months, and we adjust the supplement. Every time you do a test, whatever changes we see, we adjust ourselves. Because remember, we don't have anything pre-made. We make them for you on demand that time.
Perfect. All right, Nia, let's go to questions from the community here.
Hi, everyone. So first question from Mark. I have been using Viome for more than a year and just received my results for my 3rd test. Will you be providing any consulting or referrals to someone to help answer questions about specific results in the reports?
Mark, first of all, thank you for being a Viome customer, and thank you for doing the 3rd test. We generally believe to scale a business to help billions of people, we really can't provide one-on-one consulting services. But our hope is that our app is so intuitive, and we are looking at AI consultant. That means artificial intelligence. You'll be able to query it and ask questions, and will answer them for you. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, since you are the member of Abundance community, you're always more than welcome to reach out to us. And as you know, a friend of Peter is a friend of ours. So just Peter will send you my email, and you'll reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any question you may have.
Great. Next question from Nikki. For Naveen. Since the microbiome changes with travel, environment, and diet, how often should we retest in sickness and in health?
So in general, we recommend 4 to 6 months. But if you have gone somewhere where you really have eaten something and you really think that some things have fundamentally changed, that means you got in the diarrhea and you think your body has completely changed, I think it's better to probably, after that, you do a retest. But in general, body, probably your ecosystem doesn't change that often, that even if people think every time I eat a new food or I eat a different dinner, does my microbiome change? The answer is no. We in fact published a peer-reviewed paper where we actually showed that it doesn't. It's like throwing a pebble in the ocean. Yeah, you get a little bit of ripple, but the water comes right back. That means your ecosystem doesn't really change, and the functionality of the ecosystem, what they produce, is not changing unless there is event like you change your diet, or you travel somewhere, you may get sickness. So if that happens, please do test right after that, or test every 4 to 6 months.
Next question from Tammy. What are your thoughts about common concerns of the vegan diet, lacking iron, zinc, omega-3 fatty acids, etc.?
So again, it is, first of all, vegan diet is good for your overall body. And then you obviously can supplement or augment that diet with the supplements. And that's the reason they call supplement. They are not replacement of the food, but to augment the food. So I believe the combination of these precision supplements and a vegan diet is probably a good diet. Again, I am not preaching a vegan diet here. You know, people who want to eat fish, people who want to eat the meat, and there are a lot of people, in fact, you know, we recommend beef. It's not that beef is bad for you, but for some people it may not be it may be bad, because you know, if your carnitine is being converted into TMA, the TMA gets absorbed in the body, and your liver makes a TMAO, which is really the trimethylamine oxide that causes the heart, the plaques in the heart, the arteries. So point is, it's not that meat is bad for you. The meat can be really good for you. All I was saying was restricted diets. That means people who go on a keto diet, not eating any carbs, or going on a very restricted diet, those are bad. But it's not about being vegan. You can be a carnivore, and as long as you're eating the right food, it's still good for you.
Question from Alex. I'm a biology major in college, and I want to make a career for myself in biotechnology. Viome team, do you have any recommendations for me to focus on after I graduate to best propel myself in the right direction?
Great
I
question.
mean, this is actually, you know, it's a very interesting question. I mean, to me, I would give you the same answer that I give every entrepreneur. Ask yourself, why this, why now, why me? That means, what is, you know, the thing that you want to do? Are you really obsessed about doing it? Do you jump out of the bed in the morning thinking about it? You go to bed thinking about it. Do you really believe that if you can solve that problem, it's going to help 1 billion people live a better life? And second part of the question really is, why now? What has changed that allows me to solve this problem today that couldn't have been done a decade ago? That means always look at what has changed and how do I take advantage of that thing, whether it is exponential technology or an external event like COVID. COVID happened, and that means now the kind of things we can do today could not be done before, right? And why me is, what is it that I believe that no one else believes in? What are the questions that I'm asking that are different from anyone else? So to me, you can make a career in anything you want as long as you believe you want to solve that problem, and you don't have to be an expert in that field to solve that problem. As Peter will tell you, I have no idea. I don't even go to high school biology course probably. I'm still working on a healthcare company.
Momo, do you have an answer for that?
I'd say just the overall advice is keep learning and understand what is it that you want to achieve in life, and keep learning towards that goal. And whether that's laboratory skills, or whether that's bioinformatics skills, or organizational skills, or all three, which is likely the case, just keep learning. If you get in a position where for a few weeks you're just turning the crank every single day, you're not really learning. So get out of that mode and continue learning every day. There's just so much knowledge out there. You know, I'm mid-career, and I keep learning so intensely every single day. There's just so much information out there to absorb.
Thank you.
Next from Miles. You speak a lot about inflammation as a main concern for bad microbiome and gut health. Is this inflammation considered ground zero for a health concern, or is it different in every case?
So it is a common knowledge, Peter, as Peter, you know, we all learn that chronic inflammation causes chronic diseases. Inflammation is a root cause of every disease. Obesity is inflammatory disease. Diabetes is inflammatory disease. Heart disease is inflammatory. Depression, anxiety, these are all, even cancer is inflammatory disease. So to me, that inflammation is a root cause, and inflammation is good, by the way. Inflammation can be very, very good when it's the acute inflammation, when you get injury. So if you are injured, you want inflammation because that's what protects your body. But what you don't want is a chronic low-grade inflammation, right? And that is literally what causes us to develop these diseases. So to me, yes, inflammation is good, but the chronic inflammation is really bad. Peter, you're a doctor. You should be.
Yeah, you know, for me, inflammation is what I want to try and minimize. And, you know, the challenge becomes, what's causing inflammation in your body? And do you know? Sometimes you do know, but a lot of times you don't. And so if I could minimize one thing, it is inflammation. And so what I'm excited about, and literally I just got my Viome, my health intelligence scores this past week, and I've signed up immediately for the supplements because that's something in my mind that's going to give me the tools to make sure I'm minimizing it. So, yep, 100%.
From
Next
Eric.
question.
Is it more important to focus on diet, exercise, or supplements to lead a healthier lifestyle? I know the answer is all three, but I have limited time and want to start making small changes to improve my health.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, Peter, I mean, the answer is all three. But to some extent, you don't need to spend an hour exercising. And that's the beauty of it. Now we, in fact, are learning that, you could potentially just spend 15 minutes, just a high intensity workout. That is probably going to be just as good as, spending an hour in the gym, right? So the point is, it's not a lot of everything, eating the right food and actually taking the right supplements, and just a 15 minutes of workout, even a couple of times a week. I mean, you're not talking about a long time. You could even work out that 15 minutes while you're taking a shower and just run in the shower if you have to, because make it so cold that you're running in the shower, right? And you could probably get enough
so
exercise.
listen, the beautiful thing about the food equation is if you're going to eat something, and if you just know the foods to avoid, and listen, it's early still. I'm excited to find out whether avoiding the foods that the health intelligence test tells me to avoid, does it change how I feel? Does it change my physiology? I hope it does. And if it does, then I'm just going to print that out and focus on when I go shopping or when I'm ordering, focus on the superfoods, stay away from the avoid foods.
And Peter, my point is, 250,000 people have done that test. And the fact is, people, lose weight. Depression is gone. Anxiety is gone. People, acne is gone. People had inflammatory diseases. To us, there is so much. And now we are, as you know, we are doing the clinical research with the Mayo Clinic, Kaiser Permanente, United Healthcare, and even the pharma companies, Advent Health. So we have so much data, so much research. That means it is not something we came up with something and say, hoping it might work. This is purely based on science, and it's math and chemistry, as Momo said. Momo, you were saying something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, on this topic, I'd say the lowest hanging fruit is, I agree with Peter, stop eating your avoid foods, consume all the supplements that you need to. That's sort of the easiest way to introduce the really beneficial foods, and exercise twice a week for 15 minutes. That's sort of the first step.
And sleep.
And sleep. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
I mean, it's still the basics, guys. Still the basics. I've been saying that for years. Sleep, exercise, and food. Okay, next question.
Next question from Sue. I've been following Peter for a long time, and I'm a firm believer that the future of healthcare will include studying health data and focusing on health concerns before they actually become problems. How do each of you see the actual procedures of sick care, as Peter calls it, evolving and improving beyond analyzing preemptive health data?
That is it is, first of all, our healthcare system is designed to keep you sick. Everyone in the medical industrial complex makes money when you're sick, and no one makes money when you're healthy. So they have no incentive to keep you healthy, right? Especially a chronic disease to them is a lifetime subscriber. But take my cynic part of me out. But the fact really is, our system is today designed to only worry about when you get sick. You're not supposed to see your doctor because you're not sick. And to me, the future of healthcare is when you and I are the CEO of our own health. We actually understand what is going on, and are we moving towards a disease or moving away from a disease? So, companies like Viome, when we look at a health intelligence test, we can show you, are you moving towards diabetes? Are you moving away? How far are you if you continue on that path before you actually develop a disease? So you can see that before you have a disease, how you're doing it, and to be able to change your lifestyle, to be able to reverse it. And that is the key, is going to be, we are going to become control our own health. You know, technology has gotten rid of all the intermediaries. Remember, there used to be travel agents, there used to be brokers, and someday we're going to say, and by the way, there used to be doctors. You know that? That thing is going to be replaced by AI, because we're going to have the digitized human data. It's going to be so much that no human can understand and process the data, and it's going to be processed by AI, and you're going to be constantly getting that feedback. And as Peter, if you're a follower of Peter, you probably know, one day you're going to have a smart toilet, the smart tiles, a smart mirror, and all the sensors around us, including Alexa, everything's going to be analyzing every part of what we are doing, and AI is going to be actually assisting you and telling you, no, that food cannot be ordered. I know you ordered bell pepper. You're not getting bell pepper because it's in the void list for you.
It depends how much you want to give over, but Naveen's right. So guys, here's the reality. Today it's once a year. You go and see your doctor, and your doctor uses a stethoscope, measures a few blood chemistries, and gives you an overall picture. Where we are right now with Viome is going to a evaluation, every couple of months you'll do a blood transcriptomics and microbiome and update your supplements, update your avoid foods and superfoods. Where we're going to is, it's not this year, maybe it's in the next 2 to 5 years. We're going to go to constant monitoring, where you're constantly monitoring the state of your body's physiology. You have implantables, you have wearables, you have AI in your ecosystem. It knows your blood, glucose levels, your vitamin D levels, and it is preparing your food for what your body needs in that moment, right? So we're going to start to just shorten the time cycle over and over and over again. So we're heading that direction, and it's beautiful. And again, I'm a super fan of Viome because it's the next step in that direction. Next question, Nia.
This one's from Allison. Naveen, you have such a naturally great energy about yourself. Do you attribute that to your routines with Viome and good diet and exercise, or have you always felt that way?
Well, so first of all, I think partly was just being around Peter. How could you not be excited about life? So there you have it. If you want one medicine other than my Viome recommendation, it would be spend time with Peter. Now, having done that, then really, I think, to be honestly, that if you look at, I posted my picture on the LinkedIn and Instagram, and you look at me 20 years ago, and you look at me today, I look younger, I feel younger, and I think I have more energy than I ever had before. And I believe by the time I turn 80, my biological age is probably going to be 30. So I'm going to be reversing my biological age down from 49 to 30 while my chronological age is going up. And the only way to do that is to really understand at a cellular level what is going on. And today we are doing it in a way that is, of course, it's not as easy, which is a finger prick the blood and the stool. But someday, as Peter said, these are going to be ingestibles and digestibles and wearables and all the kind of stuff that we're going to have patches on our body, embeddables, and we're going to be able to analyze everything. And the Viome is going to be constantly making recommendations for you all the time, ordering the food, and your microwave is going to be cooking the food and all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I just listen. There's some logical things here. We all know, like when we eat something, we say, "Man, I wish I didn't eat that." Or or your energy gets zapped, whatever the case might be. Food is it's a drug. It can make you feel terrible. It can make you feel great. And right now, all we do is we're basing it on literally our guess, what we heard, what we read. So there's a chance truly to live a data-driven life. And this is about living a data-driven diet and health. Nia, next question.
Can someone out of the US do this? We've had a few questions from Germany and Canada, for example.
So yes, Germany and Canada, both of them can order the gut intelligence test right now. The health intelligence test, I believe, is not available, but it's going to be coming out soon. And similarly, the supplements are, fortunately, you have to be in United States for at least for the short term. And I think within months, hopefully, we'll be shipping them internationally as well.
And Naveen, where do they go? Do they just go to viome.com?
Yes, viome.com.
Thank you. Next question.
How would this compare to PNOE analytics, the pros, cons, and price?
Do you know Pony Analytics?
I never heard of it.
Momo, do you know it? Don't. So apologies, I don't know it. I don't know it either. Price we heard, and I think you'll have to scratch the surface and look a bit deeper to do a comparison yourself.
All right, next question. After taking the test and answering what I ate in the last meal, I have noticed that most of my sensitivity foods were what I ate in the last meal before the test. How much of the last meal affects the results?
Interesting.
So it's very interesting is the last meal does not actually affect the results. To some extent, your food we don't test the food allergies at all. But if you have a leaky gut, and if you were to do a food sensitivity test, it's pretty likely based on the foods you eat more of. If you have a leaky gut, those are the antibodies you're likely to see in your blood, is because at the end of the day, the food should never be in the blood unless there is a leaky gut. So to us, I really feel that in terms of food that we give you an avoid list, it has nothing to do with the food you ate last time. It is more to do with exactly what the microbes are producing and what are the type of metabolites, or what are the compounds that are good you want more of, and the things that are bad, how do you want less of? And we actually try to figure out what, as Peter said, food are the bioactive, these are the drugs. And just like the food, by the way, I just want people to understand one last concept here, that when you take a drug, the real pharmaceutical drug, how effective it is and what your side effects are also depends on your gut microbiome. So many of the drugs, they have different side effects from different people based on their gut microbiome. In fact, a drug like levodopa, which is Parkinson's drug, in some cases doesn't even work because the microbes actually eat the drug. So microbes can eat the drug and actually have no effect on the human beings. So even the drugs you take actually gets transformed by the gut microbiome. So you have to really know what's happening in your oral microbiome and your gut microbiome and how it impacts the host gene expression, the host phenotype that we all actually care about. So if you want to live healthy, you really have to take the whole system into account rather than each component of it.
All right, Nia, last question here. And then we're going to be, by the way, stick around after this because we're breaking out into Zoom rooms to discuss sort of your longevity mindset right after this. So, but let's take one more question.
Great. So this one's actually one of our Zoom breakout prompts. How do each of you monitor and optimize your own health and longevity?
So first of all, I was going to tell you that we are going to be publishing a paper next week on aging. And we have now able to identify the actual gene expression, both in the gut microbiome and the human genes that actually change with aging. And we are working on how do we actually reduce the overexpression of the things that are causing aging and overexpress the things that can actually reduce aging. So to us, the aging is a chronic disease that I think we can now finally start to understand. And this paper is going to be published, Peter, is going to be just absolutely groundbreaking in a sense. The accuracy of this paper is twice as much as anything that has been published before. And the, to me, area under the curve is just phenomenal what we have achieved here. So it's a complete breakthrough in the longevity. So I really hope that not only we can live disease-free life, we're going to have healthy life and we're going to have a longer life. And I want to look as handsome and as young as Peter does when I go up.
You do. Momo, how do you answer it? What do you do for your health and longevity? And I'll close this out.
Yeah, well, so until now, you had to guess what to eat and how old you are biologically. Now we have actually tools that can measure that. And so not only do you have a readout for how old you are now, but you can monitor that over time. and you'll have very personalized recommendations for what to eat and supplements delivered to your door to consume. And then a year later, you can see how old you really are. And then every year you can do that. So there's no excuse anymore not to slow down your aging.
So I think everybody knows my answer here. For me, it's 4 factors. Number 1, it is diet. And from a diet standpoint, what have I done? I've gone to a vegan diet. It's not 100% perfect, but it's 99.5% perfect. Every once in a while, I cannot escape having a crispy piece of bacon. Just full disclosure here. And every once in a while, I'll have a pancake. But it's not religious, but I've gone over as hard as I can on vegan. Number 2 is, I will not drink as much water, but I drink water and drink tea. Love coffee. I stay away from soda, and I try and stay away from sugar. I mean, this is your basic stuff, right? Second, sleep is critically important. I've got my Oura Ring. I try for 8 hours of sleep. I try and prioritize sleep. I no longer do what I did during medical school, which is like, I'm going to try and get the least amount of sleep possible. That's bullshit. Sleep is critically important. Try and maximize it. Exercise, agree with what you heard from Momo and Naveen. It isn't, running a marathon every day. It is intermittent intensity of exercise, 15 minutes of intense exercise 3 times a week. Everyone can do it. I try and get my 10,000 steps in a day. Muscle mass is critically important. So being able to, the more muscle mass you're able to maintain as you grow older is a direct correlation with health for a number of reasons. And I would say the final thing, and people don't realize it, is your mindset. Your mindset matters. You can have a longevity mindset. If you think you're going to die, you're going to figure out a way for your body to keel over. If you are clear that the world is getting better and you have much more to live for and you can be happy, your mindset matters. So diet, exercise, sleep, and mindset. And then don't worry, we're intercepting a whole slew of incredible exponential technologies, one of which is what we're seeing from Viome. So listen, thank you, Naveen. Thank you, Momo. I'm excited to start getting my supplements. Naveen, I want to send you a text so I can get started immediately. I guess I'll just go to the website and get signed up. And
I'll take care of that, Peter.
An honor, a pleasure for both of you. If you're able to stick around, we're going to break out into Zoom rooms. Have a conversation about what are your tips, what are you doing to maintain a longevity mindset and longevity sort of lifestyle. All right.
Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter, for everything you do.
Momo, thank you guys. Be well.
Always good to see you, Peter.
Always a pleasure, brother. Love you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.